Mr. Crowley, what went on inside your mind? It's just like Aleister Crowley. Got it down a second-hand shop. God knows, wood. Just want to do a video about a few things I've been looking at, right? In particular, Timothy Leary. I don't know why my face is all glowing like white. It's weird. Anyway, like Timothy Leary, right? So I've never really been into Timothy Leary. Never read a great deal of his stuff. Back in the day when I was into Robert Anton Wilson, I used to read a little bit about Timothy Leary, but never really knew much about him apart from the story that everybody knows and this 8th circuit psychology shite that I never found very interesting. And I've just been doing a bit of reading recently and looking back at some of the stuff that was kind of being pushed in the 90s, the early 90s when I was in my mid-20s, kind of scene that I was involved in, and I've been looking back at some of it. One of the things being this book, Designed for Dying by Timothy Leary, which I believe was posthumously published. And the amount of predictive programming in this book regarding transhumanism is just, it's off the scale. And it's so like it's really lacking in I'm talking on the benefit of 30 years plus hindsight, in the actual reality of what has happened with like the internet and everything, and like what he's like postulating, what people were postulating in the 90s, the kind of hippie cyber culture, the future that they were envisaging, and the actual future that has transpired. It's just completely poles apart. But you can even see it in here, like the things that he's talking about. How we're all going to be able to grow. We're all going to be able to grow new ears and eyes when they go wrong, and we're going to be a different species. How it's all just completely like none of it's happened, and it's all going to dominate. Anyway, I will be reading some bits from this in the future if I get round to it. I've been looking at it when I've been in the gym on the cycling machine. And I'm just shaking my head all the way through it, but there's too much to get into in one video in this book. But this was one thing, and it got me into looking at Timothy Leary. I've previously spoken about people like Terence McKenna, whether they were actually intelligence agents or whether they were pushed by intelligence agencies, and how a lot of their story, it doesn't seem to add up. It never seems to add up. There are things that just don't make any sense. In here as well, he's talking about the CIA, and he makes vague little comments that are kind of like, reading between the lines, it's like, what are you talking about there? I don't understand what you said. What? If other people on the scene had realised, blah, 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 and then he just goes off into something else. Anyway, so yeah, I'm looking at this idea of people being pushed by intelligence agencies. Obviously, a lot of people they're now they're coming round to thinking that like the 60s, everything was manufactured, it was all a plan, it was all rolled out. Well, a lot of it does seem to make sense when you actually read into it. Now, I've been looking at just on a case in point, I made a video about Terence McKenna a year or so ago, and I picked up this The Brotherhood of the Screaming Abyss, which is a book that's been written by his brother. It's a very thick book, 500 odd pages, and I had to get it. I haven't actually read it. I'm probably going to leave it a few months, but I want to get to the bottom of this Sarah Rossbach, who owned the copyright to Terence McKenna's first book, and what that was all about. So I'm hoping I'm going to find the answer in here. Anyway, that's just that. So this was the kind of thing I'm looking at. Timothy Leary, books like this. again, I've been flicking through this. This was published in '94, I believe. It's like grooming. It's like psychedelic grooming and predictive programming. I mean, it's you open it at any random page and you start reading it, and it's just off the charts. It's like, this is something that's being pushed. They've got a generation of people on drugs, and they're putting all these ideas into their heads. It's so clear. You can get this on eBay for £6 or £7. I'd recommend picking a copy up if you're at all interested in this kind of thing. This is an issue I've got. A lot of people don't like to go back. Everyone wants to jump on the latest story, Elon Musk, all the rubbish that's going on. People don't go back and look at this shit. It's really interesting to look at in like the cold light of 2025, like where we are now, to look at this stuff that was out in the 90s. This was like in the counterculture, so-called underground drug scene. This is all the shit that people are reading, or the few people, I suppose, that did read stuff. So, again, what was I talking about? Right, so this idea of things being pushed from intelligence agencies, culture creators. Alan Watt always used to talk about this. I've been reading this book, Brainwash, The Secret History of Mind Control, which is well worth picking up. I believe I read it a few years ago, but I can't even remember these days what I have and haven't read sometimes. But it's very, very interesting. You can pick this up on eBay for £3 or £4. It's worth getting. Even 100 pages in, it's like some really good shit. But I just want to look at a few things, like, and it's always the same story with these people, and this is an example. Culture creation. There's always this backstory, a backstory that when you actually analyse the backstory, it doesn't fucking make any sense. If you've lived a bit, and then you read these stories, it doesn't make any fucking sense. For example, with the Terence McKenna, like I've said in a video previously, there's the whole backstory of Terence McKenna. He was a student and he dropped out, and then he went travelling across Asia and India and Asia, collecting butterflies and experimenting with drugs. And then he brought all his research. Who's funding all this? Where's he getting the money to do all this? Where's the proof that any of this? Hopefully I'll find some in this book by his brother. But it's the same story here. I'm sitting in the gym yesterday, and I'm on the machine, and I'm reading this, and it's like, here we go. He's talking about kind of the discoveries of psychedelic drugs and A.B. Hoffman and Aldous Huxley, and again this kind of backstory to the discovery of these drugs, and Maria Sabina in the mountains in Oaxaca, in the Sierra Madre in Mexico. So we get to this little piece here, and okay, let's start here. So the idea is that the CIA and Porton Down and all these, and the Russians, they were all looking at trying to discover truth-telling drugs, or like brainwashing drugs, either to control people or to get them to crack under pressure when they're being interrogated. In a militaristic format. And this is like the backstory. This is the way this guy is presenting it in the book. So, but the CIA's plans to keep psilocybin and LSD secret were going awry. Well, were there plans to keep it secret? This is the question already. Were there plans to keep it secret, or was there a plan to roll this out to the general public for whatever reason? Was there a plan? Anyway, he's the CIA trying to keep it secret. With Isbell testing the drugs on addicts, and Wasson, who was the very, very high up with JD, what are they called? Wall Street, JP Morgan, telling his friends about it. It wasn't long before other figures became interested. Sorry, I just got to move something. Became interested in the new wonder drugs, and they were going to kick open the doors. In the summer, here we go with the story. The story. Once upon a time, in the summer of 1959, a young Harvard psychology professor read Wasson's article in Life and decided to investigate. The next year, he took a trip to Mexico, hiring a villa with a swimming pool outside Cuernavaca. That August, he received a visitor, a Mexican professor of anthropology called Gerhard Braun, who had also read the article. As they sat beside the pool, Braun told the American that there really was something in this mushroom business. He had recently visited a small village called Toluca, I think he spelt that right, where he had tracked down a lady called Old Juana, who sold him a bag of magic mushrooms. Would he like to try some? The young professor agreed, and on 9th of August ate 7 mushrooms. The taste, he complained, was bitter, but the effect was explosive. Wow, he wrote to his friend Arthur Koestler, right? Remember all this. I've learned more in 6 hours than in the last 16 years. For any other Harvard professor, this experience might have been an interesting after-dinner story. Not this one. He was Timothy Leary. It was the classic visionary voyage, reported Leary later, and I came back a changed man. You are never the same after you've had that one flash glimpse down the cellular time tunnel. You are never the same after you've had the veil drawn. He's a young Harvard professor. Okay. He's a young Harvard professor. What's a young... I'm not certain. What's a young Harvard professor earning? Right. And more to the point, with a lot of these people, like if you look at the video I did a year or so ago about Richard Bandler, who's got the same story, he claims. Oh, I was just goofing around taking drugs and then I got a degree and then I had a teaching job. You don't just get a teaching job. You don't just like get a qualification and then just go straight into teaching. As far as I'm aware, I know that does happen with some people, but like it's not. Is that just a typical thing? Right, you go to university, you graduate, and then you go and you have a teaching job. How come Timothy Leary's just got this teaching job? Richard Bandler's just got this teaching job. It's like we know from reading books about intelligence agencies, MI5, the KGB, all over the world, what happens is, in universities like Oxford and Cambridge, people get headhunted. They get headhunted to go and work for intelligence agencies. There's even they make a joke about it on what was that, Trigger Happy TV, with that "See you next Tuesday" Dom Jolly. What's going? This story, it's already sounding very suspicious. He's just decided to go to Mexico and hire a villa. if you were just going down to Mexico out of interest, and I'm trying to use common sense. Somebody the other night online accused me in a group chat of being simple-minded, using simple-minded argument. Well, I am being simple-minded because sometimes if you use simple-minded, that's where the fucking truth is. It's just like, cut the shit. What's going on here? Why is he hiring a villa? It sounds like, right, we want you to go there. You're going to hire a villa, and then where's this visitor coming from? Oh, we just received a visitor. There's no internet in these days, remember. There's no fucking internet. He just receives this visitor, and then he's got his friend Arthur Koestler. How does he know Arthur Koestler? These are questions. I mean, there might be like reasonable answers to them, but it all sounds very suspicious. Well, how does he know Arthur Koestler? He's a young Harvard psychology professor. How does he know How does he know all these people? Why is he so connected when he's young? So we go on. I'm going to read the whole thing. Like the more you read it, the more it starts to sound like it's an operation. When you read between the lines, like with a simple mind. Back in the United States, once upon a time, later on, back in the United States, Leary ordered 100 psilocybin tablets from Sandoz. Well, how does he do that? What, you just like, hi Sandoz, yeah, I like some of these tablets. Like, where's he getting all these connections from? Oh, you just order psilocybin tablets from Sandoz. Is it that easy? Oh, later, it's like me. Oh, I found out there's some discovery going on. Oh, I just pick up the phone and I'll give Porton Down a ring. Oh, I heard you're working on something. I heard there's this new pill. Can I order 100 of them? Yeah, sure. Yeah, give me my address. Yeah, I'll send you a check in the post. He ordered. It's like a story. Oh, he ordered 100 pills from Sandoz. The day they arrived, he threw a party for a handful of friends and cracked open the bottle. So, I'm assuming all his friends are well-connected psychology professors or, yeah, I've got a new pill, take it. It's amazing. Oh, yeah. I mean, does this sound like real life? He cracked open the bottle. The next morning, all 100 tablets were gone, and he placed another order. Again, it sounds like an operation. We've got a job, right? What we're going to do, we're going to get you, and we're going to get you to push this stuff. When the shipment arrived, he established the Harvard psilocybin project and fed the drug to 34 prison inmates in Concord, Massachusetts, in an attempt to rehabilitate them. Well, again, like number one, like the Richard Bandler story, this sounds like an MK Ultra thing. Where's the informed consent going on here? Who's authorising this? This young graduate. He's a psychology professor a minute ago. He's a psychology professor. And now he's handing out drugs to attempt to rehabilitate prisoners. Well, I want to know. Well, what stages are going on here? What's he doing in the prison? What's his role in the prison? What is he? I was just strolling through the prison one day and decided he'd do this. None of this adds up. I was like, right. Well, who can I get to take it? Well, he can do it on prisoners. Who's telling him to do it on prisoners? It's like he's got authorisation to do this from somewhere. No? Let's see if we can turn the criminals into Buddhas, he told his postgraduate students. Leary handed out the drug to friends and colleagues who passed it on to others. He gave it to writers Jack Kerouac and Robert Lowell, then to beat poets Ginsberg and Orlovsky. Ginsberg introduced it to the pianist Thelonious Monk. How does he know all these people? Well, it was before the internet. It's like this whole scene is created. All these cats have been put out onto the scene to create this thing. Roles. And remember, this guy Wasson, who I've not spoken about really, who's involved in this, he's like really high up in JP Morgan. JP Morgan, you know, these people, they're all fucking connected with plans for how they're going to take society. Having read accounts of psilocybin in life, Aldous Huxley and Humphrey Osmond, visited Wasson to ask him about it. Soon Huxley had made a new dear friend in Timothy Leary, and the pair took the drug together, all just getting all connected. News of Wasson's wonder drug was spreading in England too. In 1961, Robert Graves, who ghost wrote, what's the name of the book? Not the Mind Manipulators. William Sargent, The Battle for the Mind, which is basically kind of like a brainwashing manual. Ghost written by, all connected. William Sargent was involved in like MK Ultra brainwashing. Ghost written by Robert Graves. Now Robert Graves is involved. They're all being pushed together. Hanging around in Oxford, lectured to members of Oxford Humanist Society about his experiences with the mushrooms. After eating them, he said he travelled to paradise via the deepest blue-green grottos of the sea, blah, blah, blah. It's very easy to bullshit about experiences of drugs, you know, it's the... Anyway. So we continue with this idea that the CIA were working on this stuff, but they didn't want it getting out. But by accident, it got out, and suddenly it started spreading like wildfire among the intellectual elite of the world and young postgraduate students. In the meantime, of course, the CIA was still sending the drug into its universities and hospitals for testing. And prisons, by the sounds of it. But then if you say Timothy Leary was connected to the CIA... people will say you're being simple-minded and cynical because he's such a cool cat. He's such a cool cat. He's such a groovy fucker. You know, he wears beads around his neck and he smiles when he gets arrested. Of course he fucking does. Their subject suddenly became less random. Friends of friends who had heard about or tried LSD showed up and offered to have a go. In 1959, Harold Abrahamson gave LSD to anthropologist Gregory Bateson, who encouraged Allen Ginsberg to take part in an LSD experiment at the Mental Health Research Unit in Palo Alto, California. Ginsberg became paranoid, convinced that he was about to be absorbed into the electrical grid of the entire nation, but passed on the word of the drugs afterwards. The next year, Ken Casey, again, here we go again, the same story. Ken Casey, a postgraduate creative writing student at Stanford University. Stanford prison, famous for the Stanford prison experiment. So there's all this dodgy stuff going on at this place. Once upon a time, Ken Casey, a postgraduate creative writing student at Stanford University, was paid $75 to take part in a series of CIA-sponsored experiments at Menlo Park Veterans Hospital. Galvanised by the effects of LSD, once upon a time, he dropped out, took a job as a psychiatric nurse, and began to research a novel, both on the ward and on drugs. Well, it's interesting because I was a psychiatric nurse for nearly 30 years, and as a mature student with no qualifications at the age of 24, it took a good year and a half to even just get on the course, to start 3 years of training to become a psychiatric nurse. But once upon a time, Ken Casey just dropped out and decided to take a job as a psychiatric nurse. Now, maybe he somehow got a job as an orderly, maybe, I don't know. But again, it's all like a fairy story. You just got a job like that as a psychiatric nurse. The novel turned out to be One Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest. Following its success, its immediate overnight success, so you work as a psychiatric nurse, you write a book, and then suddenly you're an overnight success, and now you're the big famous Ken Casey. It's all a little bit sus, don't you think? Maybe I'm being a bit paranoid, but Casey lost no time in gathering together a group of like-minded individuals, putting them into a day-glow painted magic bus and driving all over the United States, organising acid test parties at which thousands of participants were given LSD. So he's a postgraduate student, then he's a psychiatric nurse, then he's an author, and then he's got a magic bus. Bus, magic bus. Is it not quite, you read in between the lines with this. This is all like, right, you're going to do this now, right, all right, you've done that, right, now you're going to do this, now you're going to do that. Okay, boss. It's like an operation is going on. You can see, but according to this author, and I'm not knocking the book, I'd go out and buy this book, it's great. But, according to this author, it was all getting out of hand and the CIA couldn't control it. But you read between the lines, it's like there's an operation going on here. And this is a good paragraph. With Casey on the west coast of the United States and Leary on the east, use of the magic drug was spiralling out of control. Leary, by now, well on the way to assuming the mantle of the High Priest of LSD. Coined the aphorism, turn on, tune in, drop out. Well, actually, he didn't. He nicked that from Crowley. Crowley had a slightly different one, something, get out, which reverberated across the country for the next decade, courtesy of the press and the media. Earning himself the impressive sobriquet from Richard Nixon of the most dangerous man in America. Like the Sex Pistols. Oh, don't listen to this. Everyone goes out and buys it. Relax. Frankie Goes to Hollywood. This record's awful. Don't buy it. Oh, take it off the turntable. Throw it across the radio studio. Next thing next week is number 1. This is the most dangerous man in America. Same thing was said about Bill Cooper by Bill Clinton, allegedly. But unfortunately for Bill Cooper, it didn't work out quite so well. But again, with Casey on the west coast of the United States and Leary on the east, use of the magic drug was spiralling out. It sounds like it's an operation. Okay, what we got? Right, we got this guy here. Yeah, we got this. He's this Leary. He's over here. We've got this Casey doing it here. It's an operation. The same time later, somebody's in England throwing bags of LSD over for the Beatles to take over fences and the Rolling Stones. Okay, and so that's all for that. And then he goes on to talk about Maria Sabina, who basically regretted ever speaking to Westerners about mushrooms because everything got fucked up. It was like a sacred thing. And interestingly, he talks in here about how Maria Sabina, the only reason they took these mushrooms was so the priestess in the priestess in the village could get information about the future and how to heal people. And yet all these Westerners started coming over and taking it like recreationally, and then after that, her own experiences on the mushrooms, it's like it got corrupted, like the spirit and the visions that she had when she took the mushrooms, the whole thing got corrupted. Very sad story, really. And also, interestingly, because this Maria Sabina, she's the she's like the wise woman in the area, in the mountains in Oaxaca, who got all these like, you know, weird mantras that and chants, songs that she would get from the spirits, and she would use it to heal people in her ceremonies. But she was the one person who did it, like the shaman. But then when we go back to Terence McKenna, their idea is to get everyone to take this stuff. When take it from Maria Sabina that's not how it's meant to be. So none of this with the Terence McKenna thing, it doesn't make any sense. Because it's like everyone's role is to become a shaman. It's like, no, that's not how it's meant to be. One person's meant to do it. So that's that. And I'm sure there'll be more interesting stories in this book. Now, I'm on 33 minutes. Oh no, 33. I want to read some of this. Hopefully I won't get carried away and read the whole thing, but this is it's called The Book of Grass. Okay. You see that? The Book of Grass, and it's published in first published in '67. Basically, you know, promoting the use of cannabis, an anthology. So I picked this up on eBay for £3. Now there's an article in here by Timothy Leary. Dope Dealer New Robin Hood by Timothy Leary. And I had to, there's a few chucklesome things in here I just had to laugh at. There are 3 groups who are bringing about the great evolution of the new age that we are going through now. Oh, just drop that one in there. Just drop that one in there. We're going through a new age. The young Harvard professor with no particular interest in anything, but just discovers this stuff by accident. And now suddenly he's going about, we're going through a new age. The same new age that's been promoted for a couple of hundred years prior to this by Blavatsky, Alice Bailey, the Theosophists, blah-de-blah, on and on. So suddenly, like Leary's writing about this in '67. All by accident, if you believe the backstory. These people who are bringing about the new age, they are the dope dealers, the rock musicians, and the underground artists and writers. The same group of people who, during the pandemic, said, fuck all. Apart from, wear a mask and stay safe, everybody. Please give me my job back. Please let me be a pop star again. I'll do anything, Daddy. Please let me be a pop star again. Of these three heroes, mythic groups, and remember, traditionally, and I say this as somebody in a band myself, musicians and artists, they were, in times past, they were considered the dregs of society. Kind of like the kind of people you'd want to, use. People who do anything. People who do anything for a bit of success. The people you'd want to use. Well, let's actually put them at the top of the tree and get everyone else to follow them. People with no scruples and morals. Of these three heroes, mythic groups, I think the dealers are the most essential and important. This is Timothy Leary writing. In the years to come, the television dramas and movies will be making a big thing of the dope dealer of the 60s. You mean cunts like Quentin Tarantino? And just as an aside, I watched that film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood by Quentin Tarantino, and like turning it all into the stuff with the Manson murders. It's all a kind of fairy story. I'm going to write a happy ending. I mean, he's sick in the head. He's sick in the head, that guy. The dope dealer of the 60s is going to be the Robin Hood, spiritual guerrilla, mysterious agent who will take the place of the cowboy hero or the cops and robbers hero. There is nothing really new about this. Throughout human history, the shadowy figure of the alchemist, the shaman, the herbalist, the smiling wise man who has the key to turn you on and make you feel good, has always been the centre of the religious, aesthetic, revolutionary impulse. Well, I would take issue with that. I would say the alchemist, no. I don't think the alchemists are at the centre of like revolutionary impulse. And ultimately, base metal into gold is to do with gaining wisdom, which apparently, according to somebody I was arguing with the other night, I'm not allowed to talk about wisdom. The smiling wise man who has the key to turn you on and make you feel good. Really? Really? I say the smiling wise man is something like from a Hollywood film. I mean, I've met a few. What could I say? Wise men, teachers over the years. A lot of them are quite grumpy, and they're not there really to make you feel good. In some instances, that a lot of the things they can say can make you feel very bad because they're showing you the harsh truths of life. Smiling wise man, to make you feel good. Is that what Buddhism is? Is Buddhism more about making you feel good? I think that this is the noblest of all human professions, drug dealing, and certainly would like to urge any creative young person sincerely interested in involving himself. Why young person? Why is it being aimed at young people specifically? I mean, he's specifically stating young person. That's a big fucking clue as to where this guy's coming from and what his role is, in my opinion. Any creative young person, like he's singling out the demographic. He's sincerely interested in evolving himself and helping society grow, to consider this ancient and honourable profession. The paradoxical thing about the righteous dealer is that he is selling you the celestial dream. And let's just go back a minute. Like the smiling wise man, I mean, a lot of them don't take drugs. They'll say, oh, don't touch that shit. The shaman's a different kettle of fish. But the kind of, you're like your Zen priest in Japan or whatever, Tibet, they're not so into drugs. They take weird potions and things for like these weird health benefits to attain a rainbow body and these kind of things. Tumo, so you don't want to wear any clothes, you generate your own heat in the snow. But like drugs, celestial dream. He's very different from any other merchant, because the commodity he is peddling is freedom and joy, really. Well, just go back a little bit to the kind of type of, a lot of the people I used to see back in 97, 98, as a psychiatric nurse. A few casualties I saw then, basically from the 60s, who had their brains literally fried by acid, and they were just, that was it. It's a lifetime in hospital, literally a life in hospital with the chronic schizophrenia. Which I'm, schizophrenia doesn't exist. Yeah, it fucking does. Oh, it's evil spirits. According to, what's that guy's name? I can't remember that guy. You expect your car dealer to drive a good car. Driving a car is like making love to a beautiful woman. And you want your clothier to be well dressed. No, I don't. I want him sweating in a sweaty shirt with a tape measure around his neck, like because he's busy, because he's fucking making clothes. I don't want him to be well dressed. So it logically holds that you expect your righteous dope dealer to radiate exactly that joy and freedom that you seek in his product. So therefore, the challenge to the dealer is that not only must his product be pure and spiritual, but that he himself must reflect the human light that he represents. Therefore, never buy dope, never purchase sacrament from a person that hasn't got the qualities you aspire for. Rosemary and I just came back from a trip to the Middle East. Naturally, we spent most of our time with Sufis, cannabis, alchemists and magicians. Once upon a time, we came back from the Middle East. Once upon a time, we naturally spent time with Sufis, mystics and alchemists. It's getting into Robert Anton Wilson, my life is so interesting, bragging territory. It was a great joy for us to see that the Arab dope dealers that we contacted actually did shine forth as the grooviest people you could find. I've been to Morocco a few times. And I've met a few drug dealers there, you know, just walking down the street, minding my own business. And they're not the grooviest people. Anyway. They're the grooviest people you could find. I recall the night. This is a funny one. We wandered out into the native quarter. The native quarter. Sounds a bit like Aleister Crowley when he's always using N-word. Into the native quarter. And found ourselves in a little bazaar shop in the souk talking to a dude named Mohammed. They're all called Mohammed. They won't tell you their real name. They're all Mohammed, so everyone's Mohammed. That's how it works. Who had the reputation among the international set. Remember, this is before the internet, yeah? This is before the internet. His reputation among the international set. The international set of hipsters. As being the finest dealer in town. It's just glamorising the whole thing. We walked into Mohammed's shop and immediately realised that we were stepping into a psychedelic stage. Beautiful costumes, gold embroidered vests, dangling shining jewellery, silver bracelets and whatnot. The room was a retinal orgasm. Mohammed was standing behind his little desk and he himself, in his grooming and dress, was telling you that he was a turned-on cat. This is grooming. It's psychedelic grooming. It's all so cool, kids. It's all just like fucking cool. He was wearing an outrageous shirt. His hair, instead of being close clipped as most Arabs have it, was in soul brother natural style, and he had a spectacular fluorescent scarf around his neck. I knew that I had seen him in the marketplace earlier, weaving his way through the crowd. You knew right away that here was a magician. Yeah, well, that's not how it works, because most magicians, you wouldn't be able to fucking recognise them. That's why they're a magician. It doesn't work that way. You can have the Alan Moore type cosplay magicians. Alan Moore, who goes out and his first act as a magician was to get all his friends around his house and tell them he was now a magician. And he's going to start like wearing all funky rings and like dressing up like a cosplay magician. Here was a guy who was announcing with his mere presence that he was a flipped out dealer in some sort of wondrous magic. As he sat down, the first thing he did was rummage around in his beautiful leather pouches and started to fill a hash pipe with great skill and dexterity. It's like once upon a time. At the same time, he was laying the typical Owlsley alchemist rap on us. He was telling us that he was not a businessman, but sent by God to turn people on. He's probably working for the CIA. He's probably some fucking guy from Brooklyn. Go over there, pretend you're called Mohammed. Pretend you're an Arab, you're called Mohammed, with your kinky hair. His product was not to intoxicate you, but to give you what you were looking for. Freedom and joy. And that indeed, his kif and hashish were the best in the world. He had different varieties that would turn one onto food, turn you on erotically, and give you... Why do you need to be turned on erotically? What's wrong with you? You know, you got... and give you visual and musical enhancement. All this time his eyes were twinkling, and even before partaking of the sacrament, one became turned on by the man himself. Your trust in his product is therefore greatly enhanced. Probably selling them basil, some herbs. The paradox of the dealer is he must be pure, he must be straight, and he must be radiant. The socio-economics of dealing psychedelic dope is extremely curious. Here we have the enormous billion-dollar industry going on in the United States, all of which is essentially run by amateurs, is it? Billion-dollar industry run by amateurs. All them planes bringing coke in, like, you know, those Bill Clinton and them CIA planes, bringing it all in from Colombia and whatnot. It's all by accident. I know no one who has dealt psychedelic drugs over a period of months and survived without being busted or being freaked out who wasn't pure. Yeah, you probably don't know any proper drug dealers because you're probably getting it all from Langley. You have to be pure. You can't be doing it for the money or the power, and you can't do it on your own. Most, if not all, righteous dealers work in groups or brotherhoods. I bet they do. This again is the ancient message of the Middle East. The brotherhoods or groups of men who are engaged in this spiritual journey together, which is always, of course, against the law, always has to be illegal, and always has to be the object of persecution by Caesar, the Sultan, or by the police. The squares. The fucking squares. I've spent a lot of my time in the last 8 years looking for turned on people, holy men, to find out where they were at and to learn from them. I have been in India, Japan, all through the Middle East and Europe. I have talked to the Swamis, the Rishis, the Maharishis, and I can say flatly that the holiest, handsomest, healthiest, horniest, humorist, most saintly group of men that I've met in my life are righteous dope dealers. Oh, like poor old Timothy. Poor old Timothy. He went to Japan and he got introduced to some Zen teacher, and mate, the Zen teacher didn't really have much to say. And it didn't meet Timothy's expectations. He wasn't horny enough. He went to India and the guy was a bit grumpy. He wasn't wearing dazzling clothes. He was just a normal guy living in some random house and like kind of wasn't dressed up like with a bone through his nose. And oh, fuck you. Psychedelic grooming. They have got to be that way because they have to continue to use their own product. That's one of the interesting psychopharmacological aspects of dope dealing. A dealer has to know his product. He has to know what these different dopes do to his head. Otherwise, he doesn't know what he's selling. Like, they'll fucking sell you anything. This means that your righteous dope dealer has to know about the effects of acid, mescaline, DMT, grass and hashish. Yeah, fucking right. Like some guy in Morocco is selling you some like hash or something because it's what he can easily get from the mountains. He's not taking DMT, he's not taking mescaline. He has to be able to break off a little lump of Nepalese hash, smell it, chew it and light it up, then decide whether it is grade A, B or C. Like the funky dope dealer in Pulp Fiction. Remember that scene? The cool cat in there where he has a heart attack and all. Ugh. He's got to take an acid tab, swallow it and observe on his own detecting instruments whether it's acid, whether it's good acid, and roughly what the might. Well, you could just like experiment on some prisoners, couldn't you? You could just do that, like Leary did himself. experimenting on prisoners or the mentally ill, as Richard Bandler in the 1997 lecture I did a video on admitted to himself. Human guinea pigs. All gets a little bit awkward when you start reading between the lines and remembering stuff that's been said before. Suddenly things don't add up. But hey, I'm just negative. This means that he has got to be a master Sufi. It's just grooming. This is grooming. Throwing words out, just throwing pretty words out. Pretty images and words. And oh. The dealer has got to be a completely accurate, straight, spiritual detective. It makes me think of, I don't know why, I'm thinking of, what's her name? Zena Shrek, who's Anton LaVey's daughter. Now, she was brought up in the Church of Satan. There's videos on the internet where she's a kid, hail Xena, hail Xena. They're all hailing Xena. And I've read in her own words how she was involved in it, and she saw all the hypocrisy and all the bullshit that went through the whole thing, and she got so far, and then she said, this is bullshit, and she walked away from it, and now she's a Buddhist with her own form of weird Buddhism with Egyptian set, and she just renounced the whole fucking thing. So I'd say Xena Shrek, she's a spiritual detective, because she saw some bullshit and said, nah, I'm not having this, I'm going to try and follow something. That's what I'm going to do. That's a spiritual detective, if there is one. I like her anyway. He can't be riddled with paranoias, or he's going to take a puff and scream for the psychiatrist. Well, that's exactly why a lot of people in the general population just shouldn't be just taking this shit randomly. Turn on, tune in, drop out. Yeah, well, it's not so easy if you're living on a council estate in Sunderland. With the authorities on your back, because you got to pay money to bring your kids up from your missus who left you. You're trying to heat your place. I'm not talking about me. I'm just an example about how some people live. Or if you're an 18-year-old kid whose head's filled with violent images from video games and smoking strong, really powerful skunk, like weapons grade, Porton down cannabis. Go up having a nice experience, maybe getting very paranoid over a period of a few weeks and going out and killing someone, maybe. And then having a nice 30, 40-year career in a secure psychiatric unit where you can take a load of drugs and get fat and die at 55. There's a great deal of hypocrisy throughout all levels of the establishment, as well as the underground, about the dealer. There are many psychedelic liberals who say, well, it's okay for young people to experiment with grass and acid. We don't want to have laws against them, but we should have laws punishing the dealers. Somehow the dealer is in a lower moral or sociological category. This is plain bunk. Let's be straight and honest about it. The 13 million people in the United States who are turned on to psychedelic drugs, any one of them has been a passive collaborator in an illegal act, and every one of the 30 million people who have used grass or acid in this country in the last few years has got to face up to the fact that it was a righteous and courageous person who took great risks to make the acid or smuggle in the cannabis. It's like critical thinking. Critical thinking for stoners. Oh, well, if you look at it this way, oh, you lost everything. You lost your home. You lost everything. But in a way, it was actually really good. It's this critical thinking. After all, the amateur LSD chemist has to have the know-how to spin the molecules together. He has to have the efficiency and organisation ability to bring together a laboratory in secret and perform a minor chemical miracle. Oh, unless he's just being done professionally with the backing of multi-billion research places, CIA places, the Asylum Institute, Stanford. This bit's really funny. This last bit is getting like over an hour now. This bit's really funny. It's like a once upon a time. Once upon a time. I remember talking recently. Once upon a time, I remembered talking recently to a group of clear-eyed, smiling, beautiful dealers. They were young men in their 20s, as all dealers have to be young. At that time, their life situation was close to perfect. It's just bullshit. It's like, yeah, none of this ever happened, did it? None of this ever happened. They were living together with their families in nature. And there was no reason... Sorry, something's happening on my computer. There was no reason for them to leave the country on one of these thrilling drug missions. They were planning another scam. I asked them, why are you doing it? You know that at this particular time with the Nixon administration, all the squares waging all-out war on turned-on kids. This is like, yeah, this conversation happened, didn't it? With all aid of border guards, secret agents. Oh yeah, really? And they're not the ones bringing it in. Just flying it over in fucking like military, in big fucking industry, you know, like bringing the drugs in. With all aid of border guards, secret agents, it's just not a cool time to do it, man. You've got all the land and dope to centre your own lives. Why take chances? They thought for a minute. Once upon a time, they all these cool kids thought for a minute. The cool turned on kids thought for a minute, collectively. And their answer was interesting. Their answer. We deal because that's our thing. We believe that dope is the hope of the human race. It is a way to make people free and happy. We wouldn't feel good just sitting here smoking the dope we have and saving our souls. knowing that there are 30 million kids that need dope to center themselves. This is such like this conversation never happened. Like, it's just ludicrous. Our lives have been saved from the plastic nightmare because of dope, and we would feel selfish if we just stayed here in our beautiful utopia. Our brothers and sisters out there should be as liberating and loving as we are. As far as the police network that is being built up against them, they just laughed. We are smarter and wiser than the FBI, the CIA, and the Narcotics Bureau put together. We have to be. We just can't admit defeat just because they have more and more equipment against us. There was no use for me to argue with that point of view, and then they took off for the Middle East with my blessings. What a fucking conceited little statement there, with my blessings. The high priest of hipsterdom gave them their blessings. Yeah, interesting. These like turned on kids living in nature. What, not out in Svanjansk. They weren't shooting rifles at dune buggies and like burying people out in the desert, you know, and like sharpening their knives. No, we are the beautiful dope children. Okay. Maybe if you've managed to watch this, maybe you get the idea. I don't know. Psychedelic grooming. Psychedelic grooming. Okay. Thank you.